Hi, I'm Everett Young, and today I'm going to talk about what do you do when you have a phrase, some phrase that's technically challenging for you, and you want to work up to playing it at full speed. Obviously, you're going to have to do lots and lots of repetitions, but how do you get there? So this is largely a discussion about practice method. I've chosen the repetitive finger-picking phrase from the 59th Street Bridge song, the great Simon and Garfunkel tune. Slow down, you move too fast. We're going to be playing it in the key of G, and the phrase goes like this. Okay, so just a repeating phrase. So how do you get it up to that speed? Let's say that currently you cannot play the phrase at that speed, but maybe you know what the notes are and maybe you have tablature in front of you or something. The first and most obvious approach is to play it slowly enough that you can actually accomplish the entire phrase. So this is if you already know the notes, you could play it all the way through very, very slowly, and you could do as many repetitions of this as you feel like doing. So that might sound something like this. And you watch all your fingers as you go, make sure everything's in place. Placing your finger carefully where you want it. And these fingers carefully where you want them. And then back to the beginning again. And again for another repetition. Now, once you've gotten to where you can make it all the way through by memory and you start to get some confidence, you might add a metronome. The metronome clicking, this pushes you a little bit, but keeping it on the edge of what you're comfortable doing. That is, you don't want it to be so fast that you can't accomplish the phrase, but you want to keep yourself just on the edge of your comfort zone. You're starting to get a little uncomfortable. It's okay if you play a repetition that's not perfect. That's still a good repetition. But with the metronome, you might start playing it more like this fast. Okay, so that's another way you might do it with the metronome. Tick, 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 tick. What if you're having trouble working the entire phrase up to that speed? And this is an issue that I've confronted a lot with fast phrases that I'm trying to get used to playing. What can I do? And I think this is for a lot of students, especially who are self-taught, and for me, for a long time, it never even occurred to me to break the phrase down into the tiniest of chunks. And so what you might do is start with just that much. Okay, so I'm going to put my hand right there, and now I can set the metronome going pretty fast. I can have it going click, 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 click. Maybe do it for 20, 30, 40 repetitions. Maybe bump it all the way up to full speed. So you're doing it this fast. Click, 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 click. And now just add one note. Just that. Now, so that might sound like this. Click, 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 click. If even that's too much, if playing these two notes at the same time is too much, try just one of them. Try to fret, maybe just try to fret one of them or fret them both and only pluck one. So you're going. And now try the bottom one. when that's starting to be comfortable, add them both. If you can get comfortable with that, maybe you add one more. Maybe you add. So now you're going. You might be playing that much slower. Even you might be going. Okay, maybe add one more note. So you can tell that it's that way. It may take you a really long time before you've added all the final notes in the phrase. So you're working on this window that covers from the first to the second chord. Well, now go from the second to the third chord. So if this is the second chord, okay, so just that much. Set your metronome again. Click, 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 click. And then the final phrase, the final two. You've done chords 1 and 2, chords 2 and 3, and now chords 3 and 4. And that you can, and then even that you can divide into its constituent parts. You might start with. When you're comfortable, add one more note. And then add another note. And now you've done chord 1 and 2, chord 2 and 3, chord 3 and 4. Now start gradually lengthening it out. Let's try chords 1, 2, and 3. Now let's try chords 2, 3, 4. Click, 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 click. So now I'm playing 3/4 of the whole phrase. I can put the whole phrase together now. Now I may dial the metronome back again to get the whole phrase working together. The idea is that any phrase can be played by just about anyone if it's sufficiently slow, if it's really slow enough. And the second idea is that any phrase can be played at full speed if it's sufficiently short. Even a beginner can play the first 2 notes of this phrase at full speed, right? And most beginners could probably play the first 3 notes at full speed. So I can practice tiny, tiny chunks of any phrase at full speed. Okay, so there are different ways to break things down. You can break them down by slowing them down. You can break them down by playing short chunks. Or even if there are chords that you're playing, you can play parts of the chord. So if I'm, for example, practicing transitioning from a C chord to a G chord, and that whole transition is hard, I might just try that portion of the transition that's low. So from there, and then I might try the top part of it. And then I might put the whole thing together. So I encourage you to get really creative with ways that you cut your repetitions down into so that you're repeating the tiny chunks of what you're doing. You can repeat the entire phrase very slowly, or you can repeat a tiny chunk of the phrase much more quickly. Come at it from both angles, and over a period of hundreds of repetitions, phrases that once seemed difficult to you become effortless, and most of the activity is happening completely outside of conscious awareness. And that's where you want to get to. Don't forget, give yourself repetitions, a lot of repetitions over a week or two, but then give your brain some extra time, maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, to build those synapses for you, to build that neural machinery that's going to allow you to do these things outside of conscious awareness. So you practice something, do lots of repetitions over a week or two, but that's not the end of your improvement. You're going to keep on improving even over the next couple weeks, even if you stop practicing it, because your brain is still building that machinery for you. So, all right, so that is how I approach practicing a phrase that I'm having difficulty playing, and I want to go from having it be difficult to having it be automatic.